G'day guys, Lucas coming at you from the garage. I've picked myself up a whole bunch of these glass blocks. Now, back in the day, who knows when, they used to make shitty looking windows out of these, and they're not really much good for anything anymore. So I've done something different with them. Let's have a look over here. Party time! Look at that. Timber frame, glass blocks in the middle, timber slats between. Pretty lights. Anytime you want to party, make it feel like Christmas. A little bit of mood lighting for the bedroom, if you know what I mean. So, people have asked me, how did I make that? And to make a video showing you how to do it yourself. Well, no, I'll just show you how I did it, because it's probably wrong, and you're going to come on the comments and say, I drilled a hole in my hand, fucked myself up, and it's your fault. So, I'll show you how I did it. You do whatever you want to do. So here's the materials I've used. Double tap, glass blocks, of course. Diamond tipped drill bit for drilling through glass. Gonna need that. Some dowels, screws, glue, decking oil, water in a spray bottle, General Tools circular saw. I'm not a carpenter, I'm not a builder, I don't have a drop saw, I don't have a table saw, so I'm just gonna freehand it with a circular saw. Rough, but I don't give a shit, I think it looks alright. And some timber. This stuff's 140mm wide, 2.4 meters long. I've got two pieces of that because I'm making two of them. That thing stands up just over 1 meter tall. I've also got these square doweling, which I'm going to make rails up each side that hold the glass blocks in place. A thinner piece of decking timber. This one's a 90mm. The glass blocks are actually 80mm wide, or 80mm thick I should say. This will form the slats in between each glass block. So I need to thin this down by 10mm. And a leftover piece of timber that I'm going to cut a rectangular piece out of, as I've already done once, to make the base. Obviously we're going to need some lights to go in them. LED strip light. That'll go around the inside of the frame, and some wire curtain lights that are going to go inside the glass itself. And some feet to go on the bottom, because without feet, you're not standing up, are you? So here's the fun part. That's it. What we're going to do is we are going to drill a small hole into every single block. Going to use a bit of water, if there's water in the fucking bottle. And very carefully, we're going to start slow, and I'm going to start on an angle to get it started. There we go. You beauty. Now I've got to do that to all them blocks. Rightio. So, cleaned all of these up, drilled a hole in every single one. Now I had to rinse them out because obviously there's a whole lot of glass dust that gets sucked in because these things are under a vacuum when they're sealed. So now I have to let them dry. I'm going to chuck them in the sun, help that water evaporate from inside. So while they're drying in the sun, or you put them in the oven at 100 degrees until they're medium brown, I'll cut the timber and I'll get back to you. Timber's all cut. There's fucking dust everywhere. So good for you. Try not to breathe that shit in. Here we have the side panels, the rails that run either side of the bricks. These are the slats in between the bricks. Notice I've notched them out with a router. That's to allow the lights to run up the side of the panels. That's the top piece and that's the base. And here's the second set because I'm making two of them. So that's how it's going to be arranged. Next step, I'm going to pin these on at the thickness of the bricks, even Steven either side, and pin them. Glue and pin. Let's hook into it. Just a little word to the wise, if you're a lefty like me, get yourself a left-handed hammer, do the job right. Rightio! So, let's have a look at what we're up to. These rails I've nailed and glued on, obviously at the thickness of the tiles. These ones here are just placed in at the moment. These won't be glued in or screwed or anything. They're just going to sit in the middle, held together by the sides. So this one I've put both sides on and strapped it together. And what I'm going to do, lift this one up. You can see the holes there. We're going to put some dowels in that. I've already marked the base. Base is going to go on. So I need to mark the dowel points first. So this one I've already placed and marked. You can't really see it, but I've marked where I want the two sides to sit. That's one piece, that'll be the base, and it's upside down right now. So in order to line up the dowels with where they need to go, just going to pop these little puppies in here. Little dowel markers. And then carefully line up the base on top. Give it a little bop with a hammer. And we'll go from there. Alrighty, so we've got our 4 points marked there where the dowels will align. We're going to need some dowels. These puppies come out. We're going to put some glue, PVA glue in there to glue the dowels in and run some PVA along the ridge. And then we're going to glue it and screw it. And that's never coming apart. So I've glued some dowels in, made a mess, and drilled the matching holes here. Don't drill all the way through. And you have to make sure that the height of the dowels is not more than the thickness of your timber. And we're just going to pop that on and bop it down. Ooh! So I've also pinned that with some nice long screws. So that's secured in. I'll clean that glue off with a wet cloth. She'll be sweet. While I'm here, I'm going to throw some feet on it. So I've just flipped it over, done the same for the top. The only difference here is I've glued the dowels into the sides, but I have not glued the top down. And yes, I've still run with screws in the top, although it's not as pretty as just gluing and doweling it. I want to be able to remove this one day if the lights stop working. So eventually those lights die. I'd like to be able to pull it all apart, put new lights in it if it needs to. So the top will just be a case of unscrew those two, lift it straight off. There's 4 dowels holding it so it keeps it stable. That's the basic structure. Now I've got to start putting lights in. Right, so here's where we're up to. Pull them all apart again and drilled a hole in the bottom onto the side. We're going to feed the lights up through the bottom, up around the inside there. The strip light's going to go and the wire lights are going to run up the side and then feed into each individual brick on the way up. So I've fed the strip light through. It does have adhesive, but it's shit. It doesn't stick to anything. This one, it's 3 meters. Obviously it goes up a meter, across, down a meter, and there's a bit of leftover which I'll just run up the side here. This is the sort you can't cut. And with the string lights, these ones conveniently have 15 sets of these wires. So 3 3 of these strings will go into each brick. So basically I'm going to put the first brick in, run this up the side, feed the first 3 into the top of the brick, then a piece of timber, then the next brick, and so on and so forth until I have all 5 with lights in them resting in there. Well, up to the last brick. 4 of them in. Now I'm just going to pop 1 more brick in to fit under here and feed the lights into it, cap it off. Should be sweet. Now the last thing to do before I stain it up or oil it with decking oil, whatever you want to do. You can finish this in polyurethane if you wanted to, you can put a stain on it if you want, or I'm just going to use a clear decking oil. But I'll be securing these cables simply with a nice big flat washer and a screw. I'm just going to pin that on there just to press it on. That way the cable won't get pulled out. Although it's not the sort of thing you want to put in places people will trip over it. There we go, all done. Just got to put a couple of coats of decking oil and add a little spice. Oh yeah. Rightio, so we got these bad boys all finished. I've gone with a polyurethane finish in the end rather than decking oil. Let's have a look. The polyurethane has a nice gloss to it, plus really brings out the grain and is going to last a lot longer. There we go, you beauty.